This one seems like it would be pretty easy to just kind of go off the top of my head, although I've already hit record on this like 3 times, so we'll see how it goes this time. But basically, it's the idea of if Sega made a brand new console and tried to compete against Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, what would they have to do to actually compete this time around and not fail like they did last time? And my answer to that is always going to be games. Now, Sega has an amazing well of IP. They would have to put in a lot of money and talent seek like crazy to make sure that if they revive certain IP, to which there are many good ones that would get people excited, of course, Sonic the Hedgehog and Monkey Ball and Yakuza, like if you made those all console exclusives on your console, those are big gets, you know? You could maybe do Panzer Dragoon, but I think another one that is like one that probably you're not thinking of, but I think it would actually generate a lot of buzz, is a Skies of Arcadia 2, and, you know, made in the modern age. Maybe have it made by the Valkyria Chronicle guys. I know that they love that franchise. They had their characters for Skies of Arcadia in that game. Let them make a new one. I think that would be really cool. So, like, if you like made these like high budget versions of these games, I think that would generate a lot of buzz. And then on top of that, you need to like lock down some console exclusives from other companies like Capcom and Konami. Sort of like a proof of concept that yes, there's major support coming in from like these big companies, and you're getting like really good exclusives that just kind of tell people, oh, we have to barrel in and we have to play these games, so we have to buy this console. That's what it's going to take. That is the thing that it's going to take. Now, Sega does have a little bit of an advantage that would really work in terms of marketing. Sega used to be a console manufacturer. Everybody knows this. The littlest of tykes know this. And it would be an incredible thing to see that Sega's going back into it, back into the race. And they can easily use that to their advantage in terms of marketing. So they got marketing basically all set as long as they do it right. You know, maybe call it the Sega Genesis 2 or the Super Genesis or something. Like literally bring back the name Genesis or Mega Drive for my fans in the UK. But like, you know, just put a 2 at the end of it, something like that, or the Dreamcast 2. But I think that the Sega Genesis has the best name power. Literally just use every single bit of ammo you got, and that would be like, in my opinion, one way to do it. Like, make a statement that like our console is so important and we're coming back in a big way that we are putting the name Genesis back in our console. Like, I think that would also be a big help. And of course, the controls need to be modernized. It needs to have a good form factor. It needs to kind of compete in terms of like what it feels like to hold their controller versus an Xbox controller, or the new PlayStation 5 controllers, which have a better form factor, or the Pro controller. You guys know what I'm talking about. We've just evolved controllers in a way where like almost all of them feel really good now. So like Sega can't have a really weird, wacky controller. You have to have something that like, you know, fits in with the rest, and of course does its own thing. But like, you get what I'm trying to say here. Maybe you could still keep in like the little LCD screen, you know, inside the center of the controller or something. That would be kind of cool. Like maybe a small gimmick like that. But ultimately, I feel like that's where Sega's angle would have to be. It would have to be, they'd have to pour a lot of money and really talented people into getting like a really solid year 1, year 2, where there's just like amazing IP that cannot be ignored, and the games are actually good and not B grade. And that is definitely a struggle that Sega has in general. They have talented people, you know, Yakuza and the recent Monkey Balls was fantastic. So there are talented people, but they need to make sure that they get more talent on. They need to put the money into those people, and they need to like revive the right IP. I think that like something like Altered Beast coming back and done right, and I don't mean 2D, I mean like make a 3D adventure, but like just somehow grab that vibe of the original first game to, you know, sort of bestow the idea that this is not like a reimagining, this is like a cool sequel to like a cool game or something. Like, I think that would do a lot of help. And again, Sega has a lot of games like this, so just go for the well, put your own personal money into grabbing third-party support so that it just goes swimmingly. And I think that literally that's what you could do. You know, I think that like if you look back at the Sega Genesis era and look at how the marketing worked back then, you got to switch things up quite a great deal in this modern age. But it's still the idea that like it was very loud, aggressive, and they aimed to be really freaking cool. And I think that that's something that they kind of need to fixate and focus on for a Sega Genesis 2, I'm now calling it. I think that the Dreamcast failed in a lot of ways because, frankly, their game lineup is just weird. They're like misfit games. You know, you got Jet Set Radio. You're literally a guy that's just going around with a spray can and doing graffiti. And it's just like an arcade-style game, so there isn't like a great story or anything. You're just playing an arcadey game, and that's the same thing with, what was it, Crazy Taxi. You know, people love Crazy Taxi, but it's just not a great single-player home console experience. It's great to play it at an arcade. And I think that, like, where Dreamcast failed, in my mind, is that for as cool as those games are, and as for as much of a fan base as they've kind of accrued over the years, that fan base is not as big as it could be because the focus wasn't really on making home console experiences. There was a lot of just, you know, hey, here's an arcade port. And I think that, like, when you look at that, you're like, that's just sort of like 15 minutes of fun. Like, where's the 30 to 40 hours that I'm gonna like invest in this game and feel like I'm making progress? So like that's something that I think that they should think about, especially if they revisit something like Jet Set Radio. I know they are going to be doing that soon. I think they're also planning to remake it. I don't know. I'm not super excited about Jet Set Radio. I guess there's fans, and we'll see how it does. I hope it does well because I never want a game to fail. But I feel like there needs to be more to something like Jet Set Radio if they revisit it. So I hope that that's something that they consider. And honestly, I feel like they shouldn't even just go back to Jet Set Radio. I think that they should be doing big, grandiose adventures like Skies of Arcadia or Panzer Dragoon Orta, I believe. Is that what it was? I gotta look it up. Hold on. There's gonna be a jump cut. I'm sorry, it was Panzer Dragoon Saga. Okay, my bad. Yeah, so anyways, like, a game like that might be able to generate buzz. I do think that that game in particular needs a really solid reimagining, though, because I played it recently, and for as much as people like to, again, sing that game's praises, I see potential, but I was kind of like, yeah, it's not the best RPG I ever played. And this might be a crazy one, but I also want to see Vector Man come back. I don't know why Vector Man is just not, he don't even get, like, little cameos anymore. I don't know why, like, Sega just completely dropped Vector Man, but I thought Vector Man was really cool. I don't know. Maybe some of you are going to say that like Sega just simply can't do it. Like there's just no way that Sega could like muscle into this market anymore. All the footing is stuck in either Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo. But for me, I actually do see like a chance, a glimmer of hope that if Sega did make a console, it could be done, but it's a very delicate process as we've seen with past consoles trying to make it into the market and failing. So, you know, it's not an easy task, and I don't blame Sega for not even wanting to try this all over again. Don't blame them. But again, I think they could. And I just outlined how I feel like they could. If they had a really solid plan, I feel like they could do it. All right, well, anyways, thanks for watching this video. I'm going to go through some of these other tweets and see what else was suggested and maybe do another one in the future. If there is some relevant news that pops up in gaming, you'll see me. All right? Well, take care.